Yeah, I mean, I've loved the conference. I think the topics are extremely relevant. I mean, the whole disrupt, debate, deliver. I mean, those are very important things, and I think we really are at the cusp of the need to deliver. And I think that's important, but we can't deliver unless we really understand what our challenges are and how we need to do things to fix them. So I think it's very topical. I think it's been very exciting. I've learned a lot. Yeah, I don't know that we're quick enough. I don't know that we're responsive enough. And I think that's part of the danger, because disruption will come where the highest point of friction is between the industry and its customers. That's where disruption will happen. And if we don't recognize what that point of friction is with our customers, we will be disrupted. But we'll be disrupted in such a way that it will result in disintermediation or investment elsewhere, outside traditional financial or traditional insurance. That's why it's so important that the conversation of disruption goes along with the conversation of trust. We need to build trust and confidence in the sector so that when fintech can be used, it can be used to grow the sector and to deliver inclusive growth and to reach new markets, rather than something that disintermediates us or forces the customer to go to alternative solutions. Yeah, it does. It makes the job easier because regulation is very often just the catalyst for good business practice. So if the industry doesn't do it, regulation pushes them to do it. And when regulation has to push you to do something, it creates this oppositional approach. People hate the regulator because look what they're doing, they're driving change. The regulator really only cares about having an industry that's sustainable, an advisory force that's sustainable into the future, that the market trusts. That's all regulation is. It's about creating that confidence in our sector. There is no ways that we can be oppositional to the sector. There's just no ways. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we were. So when the industry buys into it and it does it itself and it realizes that it's up to us, up to them to do it, and that these things are good for their business, it makes my job an awful lot easier. So I think one of the most important topics that's been discussed at this conference is not just the fintech and the potential disruption, but that big risk that faces a country like ours of the inequality, the divide between the rich and the poor. And I think it's the single biggest risk facing our sector, or facing our country. If we don't address it, it will implode. I have that fear. I go to bed at night with that fear. So if the industry doesn't do something about it itself, the regulator, in the best interest of the industry, will be forced to nudge them to do it, to create regulation that drives them to do it. But if we have a common vision and a common goal, and we collaborate on it, and we do it together, and we do it quickly, because it needs to be done quickly, then the outcomes for all of us is just better. Not just for me as the regulator, or you as a broker, or you as an insurer, but for your children, your families, your mothers, your fathers, for the country as a whole. That's the driving force. That's why we've got to do it, because this is a very, very important sector. It plays a pivotal role, not only in the economy, but in the future of South Africa. And it's up to us to do something now. And that's why I'm enjoying this conversation so much, because it's about collaboration. It's about all of us doing our part and playing our part. And that's why I'm excited about the conference, because that message of collaboration is coming through very strongly. I don't think it's just up to the industry to stop being oppositional. I think it's also important that the regulator changes the way we do things. And I think we've stood now on public platforms and said we've done things not quite the right way in the past. We've been very compliance driven, very tick the box. Have you obeyed clause 91 subsection 3? If you haven't, there's a smack on the wrist. And the future we're going into is very different. The future we're going into, where we have the Twin Peaks environment of market conduct, is we're redrafting the legislation so that it's much more outcomes based, much more principles based. Much more is what are we trying to achieve as an industry in terms of treating customers fairly. Industry will own it. Industry will buy into it. And the legislator or the regulator won't be the policeman as such, but will be the supervisor that ensures that good outcomes are delivered to customers in the best interests of the industry as well as the customers. And I think it's a very different approach. So we've got to shift the way we do things, and the industry's got to buy into the fact that it's not oppositional. They can't oppose us. We are on exactly the same track as they are. And if you're a good business practice and you're doing the right things for your customers, you will love regulation.